Is my mic? Yeah. I don't know if anyone's ever been to an NHL or NBA All-Star Weekend. It feels a lot like that with people here, some of the favorite authors and builders of papers. I'll say hi to everyone later, as I'm a big fan of a lot of people's work. Today I'll be presenting work titled Plural Publics. This is joint work with Glenn, who many of you know, and the DSTIC team at Microsoft Research. The internet is often viewed, and rightfully so in many ways, as one of the most revolutionary communication mediums that we've ever interacted with. It allows essentially any two people around the world who have an internet connection to communicate at speeds we've never been able to, we never would have imagined. And so it's this speed, though, that has actually degraded our ability to communicate effectively. And it's this internet and the applications built on top of the internet that has made it very hard to both protect and establish the context that's necessary for communication. As many AI researchers here will attest to, it is this very context that is necessary for human communication, as human communication is both dependent and enriched by a lot of this background knowledge that we all share. Examples of such background knowledge could be language itself, it could be religious traditions that we all practice, or it could be shared personal stories we share with one another. It could be specific knowledge within a technical domain, all of which makes it incredibly easy to have far more meaning per packet of information than what we would have been able to do without such context. And scholars like Dana Boyd, Helen Nissenbaum, and many here have articulated why such efficiency of communication and communicating in what Dana Boyd refers to as these networked publics makes it incredibly hard to parse information in a way that preserves the context that we desire. And so a lot of the work being done today, both in the technology space, which is a lot of which is anchored in cryptography, as well as the privacy policy sector, takes a very atomistic view of the privacy versus publicity trade-offs. And so how our work differs from such views and discourse around privacy versus publicity is our focus on creating a diverse set of plural publics. And what this means in practice is a combination of many of the different techniques being used in the publicity and privacy space, making inherent the pluralism in our both technical design as well as the unusual use of the word publics in its plural form here, taking shape from John Dewey, who many of you may have read, commented on emergent publics, which is the necessary tools we need to govern a lot of the techniques that we have for the internet today, which inspired JCR Licklider and others who co-founded ARPANET. And in these writings that JCR Licklider had in the early writings of ARPANET, he highlighted many of the different communication challenges that we face, of which we are commenting on today in many of the different talks. But in specific, he highlights how communication is more than just sending and receiving bits. And so it is plural publics that we want to create in the digital sphere that have these clearly defined boundaries of what it is and who is in these boundaries that are communicating. The people have a very strong shared understanding of information within these boundaries and the inability to reveal outside of these private channels what it is that they're communicating about. We have sketched some ideas of how we might get to this idea of plural publics by using distributed ledgers as a mechanism to achieve this strong shared understanding, or what in game theory is referred to as common knowledge, and using different types of cryptographic signature schemes like designated verifier signatures to both establish and protect the boundaries of which I want to preserve in communication, the technical properties of which I'll be discussing at the poster session later today. These are some ideas we haven't battle-tested or begin to understand how these technologies may even undermine the ideas that we want to achieve in such an information pluralistic world. I'll walk through a brief example of what this looks like in practice to ground people, and I would love to walk through more later today. So let's talk about context collapse. Today, when I want to post content on Twitter, I really have two options. I can either post to everyone, or I can post to specific lists of people that I follow, or that follow me. And even if we get a bit more fine-grained, I can pick specific, people who hold a specific soulbound token, or belong to a specific DAO, or follow a specific user. We still have one problem that's consistent across all of these different platforms, which is that even if I fine-grain who it is I share this information with, I haven't protected the boundary with who they're sharing that information with. And so a broader challenge we face today is that you can't prevent someone from sharing information. And if I send you a message, you can send a screenshot to someone I didn't want that message to go to. And if I send a protected message so that your device prevents a screenshot, there's nothing stopping you from taking another device and taking a picture of that laptop and sending a screenshot to another third party. And so under the schemes that we're looking at using here, it's instead of trying to prevent you from sharing information, we're just trying to prevent the person who you share it with from believing you that the integrity of the information is real in the first place. And this is useful in many different schemes, one of which is in special intelligence to prevent double agents from the KGB and the CIA, or even at lower levels of relationship communication with friend groups or school clubs and more. This is a brief sketch of, and hard to go through in depth in 5 minutes, but I hope that we find time later to go through many more examples. Thank you, and please, let's talk about it more today.